They told you there would come a day when your knees would force you off the water, when the cold would finally win. But a new generation of joint-saver sailboats quietly rewrote that future. Heated pilot houses, level decks, and push-button sail controls have turned once brutal crossings into dignified journeys, stretching careers into your 80s. If you think your sailing years are numbered, you have not seen how these 10 designs bypass the aches and break every old rule. What is it about Nauticat's inside helm, Moody's one-level flow, and the rest of these remarkable boats that could put decades back in your logbook? Let's step aboard and find out. Step inside a Nauticat 42, and the first thing you notice isn't the teak or the hardware, it's the warmth. The pilot house wraps you in glass, giving you a full circle view of the horizon from a seat that feels more like a captain's chair than a cockpit bench. When the wind lashes sideways and the rain comes in sheets, you are steering from a heated office. The diesel heater hums quietly underfoot, keeping the cold at bay even when the calendar says it is winter. You can sail in December without wearing gloves, and the only thing getting wet is the outside of the glass. Every control you need is within arm's reach: throttle, autopilot, even the winches are led close enough that you do not have to stand up if you do not want to. There is no need to brace yourself against a cold combing or twist your back to see the sails. Sightlines remain clear thanks to uninterrupted glazing. Whether you are tracking a squall or watching for lobster pots in fog, your neck and knees get a break. This is the difference between dreading a night watch and looking forward to it. You can sip coffee at the inside helm while the wind howls and the boat holds a steady course. No climbing over combings, no wrestling with cold, wet lines in the dark. The Nauticat 42 does not just keep you dry, it lets you sail 12 months a year, not just in the short window when the weather is mild and your joints are up for a fight. There is a trade-off, of course. All that glass and structure means more windage, and you will heal a little sooner when you are hard on the wind. But for most owners, the ability to stay warm and comfortable far outweighs the need to squeeze out another half knot. The pilot house is not just a feature, it is a career extension. For sailors who thought cold weather would end their time at sea, this boat quietly rewrites the rules. Moody's 46 isn't just a boat, it is a blueprint for how to keep moving easily, even when your knees are not what they used to be. The first thing you notice is the near-level transition from cockpit to saloon. There is no ladder to climb, no deep drop to brace for. The companionway slope measures 38 degrees, with each step rising about 6.3 inches, well within the comfort zone for aging legs. It feels more like walking into your living room than descending into a hull. Handholds line the passage, always within easy reach, and the threshold at the door is under 1 inch high, so there is nothing to trip over when you are tired or the boat is moving. The deck saloon itself is flooded with light, with headroom that lets you stand tall, and a floor plan that is almost completely flat. You can move from the cockpit to the galley to the aft cabin without ever having to grab a handrail or swing your legs over a bench. That means no awkward twisting, no sudden drops, and no risk of missing a step in the dark. This is the reason the Moody 46 wears its stairs not ladders badge with pride. In the owner's stateroom aft, there is a centerline queen berth you can walk around on both sides. That is not just a luxury, it is a matter of dignity. You do not have to climb over your partner in the night or crawl out backwards. There is nearly 37 inches of vertical clearance at the foot of the bed and over 2 feet of space on each side, so even on a stiff morning, getting up is just a matter of swinging your legs out and standing up. Storage lockers and shelves are placed at waist height, so you are never forced to stoop or stretch. Every detail is tuned for comfort and safety. The winches in the cockpit are mounted at 34.6 inches, right at waist level, so you can trim sails without bending or reaching overhead. Owners in their 70s report that they can handle every line and get a full night's sleep without ever feeling like the boat is working against them. On a Moody 46, mobility is not a challenge to overcome. It is built into the floor plan. This is the kind of interior that keeps you sailing long after most people have hung up their foul weather gear. On a Caliber 40 LRC, the helm feels almost effortless, even after a long day at sea. The first thing you notice is the way the boat holds its line, what owners call the Caliber motion. This is not marketing spin, it is the result of a skeg hung rudder and a long waterline that work together to keep the bow pointed where you want it, no matter how the waves stack up. There is less need to correct course, less wrestling with the wheel. That means your core and shoulders get a break, and you end the watch with energy left for dinner instead of feeling wrung out. The hull's shape and weight, over 22,000 pounds, soak up the snap and jolt of choppy seas. Instead of being thrown side to side, you get a soft, slow roll that is easy on your balance. The deck layout is built for safety too. Wide side decks, steady handholds, and a cockpit that cradles you in place, not perching you on the edge. Lines are led aft so you can trim sails or reef without leaving the safety of the cockpit. Tankage is another quiet advantage. With over 200 gallons of fuel and water, you do not have to plan every move around the next marina. You can motor through a calm spell or wait out a headwind, all without the anxiety of running low. Owners in their 60s and 70s often mention how this predictability changes the experience. Instead of bracing for every gust or worrying about fatigue, you settle in and let the boat do the heavy lifting. The Caliber 40 LRC is not flashy, but it is the kind of boat that extends your sailing life by making every passage a little easier on your body. The Cabo Rico 42 carries nearly 30,000 pounds of displacement, and you feel every ounce in the way it moves through the sea. There is a deliberate, unhurried quality to its motion. Waves do not jolt the hull, they are absorbed and softened like the suspension of an old Cadillac rolling over a pothole. The deck stays steady under your feet, even when the wind pipes up and the chop builds. Owners in their 70s describe sitting on the aft deck with a book, barely noticing the pitch and roll that would send dishes flying on lighter boats. The full keel and heavy build mean you do not have to brace your knees or clench your core just to stay upright. Instead, the boat does the work, turning what used to be a wrestling match into a gentle sway. This mass damping comes with a clear trade-off. When the breeze drops below 10 knots, the Cabo Rico will not win any races. You might see 4 knots on the GPS while faster, lighter hulls slip away on the horizon. But the owners who choose this boat are not chasing speed. They are chasing comfort and predictability, and the ability to move around safely even when the weather turns sour. High coamings wrap around the cockpit, offering real back support for long watches. The rig is simple, with every line led where you can reach it without a stretch. It is a boat that lets you relax, knowing that the next wave will not throw you off balance or send a jolt up your spine. For many, this is the difference between retiring from sailing and simply changing pace. The Cabo Rico 42 invites you to stay on deck longer, sleep more soundly, and wake up ready to enjoy the day, no matter what the forecast says. It is about dignity. The galley on the Passport 42 was shaped by Bob Perry's unshakable belief that you should be able to cook a real meal at sea without bracing every muscle in your body. The C-shaped layout wraps around you, putting deep double sinks and wide counters within easy reach. You can wedge your hips against the outboard side, one hand on a grab rail, the other steady on the stove. There is no need to perform a balancing act or twist awkwardly when the boat heels. Every corner of the galley offers a secure hold, so even if you are crossing the Gulf Stream in a lumpy sea, your feet stay planted and your shoulders stay relaxed. Storage is everywhere you look. Lockers line the counters at waist height, so you are never stretching overhead or crouching down with a hot pan in your hands. The gimbaled stove swings gently, letting you keep the soup on the burner and the coffee pot upright, even when the hull is at a steep angle. Fiddles on the counters keep plates and ingredients from sliding away, and the sinks are deep enough that washing up does not send water splashing across the cabin. Perry insisted on bracing points spaced so you can always find support within a step or a reach, no matter your height or flexibility. That means you can cook for yourself or for a crew without risking a fall, even if your balance is not what it used to be. Owners often mention that on a Passport 42, a hot meal underway is just another part of the passage, not a test of endurance. When you are ready to eat, you sit down with dinner that did not require a single core-straining move. For aging sailors, this is more than convenience. It is the difference between continuing to cruise and giving up the galley for good. This is about dignity at sea. Pressing a single button at the helm, the Southerly 135's hydraulic system quietly lowers the massive swing keel, shifting the draft from about 9 feet to just over 2.5 feet. There is no crawling into cramped lockers, no wrestling with pins or levers. Instead, a simple gauge beside the wheel tells you exactly how deep the keel sits. This is freedom measured in feet and inches. The transformation takes less than a minute and asks nothing of your knees or shoulders. With the keel down, the Southerly bites into the water like a true offshore cruiser, tracking steadily upwind on long passages. But when you approach a shallow creek or a tidal sandbar, the same push of a button lifts the keel and lets the hull glide into water that would stop a fixed keel yacht cold. Suddenly, you are anchoring in calm, waist-deep water while the wind and chop pass by in the distance. There is no need to brace for a wet, bumpy dinghy ride or risk a slippery transfer with stiff joints. Instead, an owner can step directly from the transom to firm sand, walking ashore with dry feet and steady legs. Owners in their 60s and 70s say this is the difference between enduring an anchorage and enjoying it. The hydraulic system has proven reliable, with most surveyors recommending a simple inspection of the pivot bearings every few years. Routine maintenance, not a source of anxiety. For many, the Southerly swing keel is not just a clever piece of engineering. It is a way to reclaim anchorages that once seemed out of reach, and to keep sailing to new places without ever having to risk a bad knee in a rolling dinghy. The boat wears its press-button keel badge with quiet pride, and those who use it never look back. The Tartan 4100 brings a different kind of shallow water. Freedom, one that does not rely on moving parts or hydraulics. This boat is built with an epoxy hull, a material choice that makes the entire structure stiffer and lighter than traditional polyester layups. That stiffness is not just a number in a brochure. It means that when the wind comes up and the chop builds, the hull resists twisting and flexing. The result is less energy lost to motion and less fatigue transferred to your arms and back through the wheel. Steering stays light even after hours on the helm. The beavertail keel on the Tartan 4100 is a fixed, shallow draft design, drawing about 4.6 feet. There is no button to push, no hydraulics to maintain, and no risk of mechanical failure. You simply glide into anchorages that would be off-limits to deep keel cruises. In a world where every extra inch of draft can mean a longer dinghy ride or a rougher night at anchor, this passive approach to shallow sailing is a quiet advantage. You drop the hook closer to shore, out of the chop, and step onto the transom with dry feet. Owners often mention how the boat responds instantly to a light touch on the wheel, even in gusty conditions. There is no need to muscle the helm or brace your core to keep her on course. The epoxy layup and beavertail keel work together to reduce strain, not just on the boat, but on the sailor. For those who want the freedom to explore skinny water without adding complexity or the risk of a jammed keel, the Tartan 4100 delivers a kind of ease that extends your time on the water season after season. The Hylas 46 stands apart for one reason every aging sailor will appreciate. You never have to kneel to check the engine. Open the portside door beside the galley and you step into a full-height engine room with nearly 74 inches of vertical clearance. There is no crawling through a quarter berth or twisting under a cockpit sole. Everything is at eye level, oil dipstick, filters, belts, all lined up along the walkway. The main access panel swings wide and you can reach both sides of the engine without contorting your back or banging your knees. Owners in their 70s have filmed themselves walking in, grabbing a rag, and checking oil in under a minute, all while standing upright. Routine maintenance becomes a quick, painless task, not a dreaded chore. The center cockpit above is high and dry, but it is the walk-in engine room below that quietly changes the game. On a Hylas 46, solving a problem underway does not mean risking your joints. It means solving it on your feet with dignity intact. That is what real luxury looks like when you want to keep sailing well into your later years. The Outbound 46 cockpit is a lesson in seated safety. High coamings rise nearly 30 inches from the sole, wrapping around like a padded guardrail. You do not perch on the edge or brace your back against a slippery bench, your lumbar is supported, your hips stay planted, and your center of gravity remains low. This is not just comfort, it is protection. In heavy weather, the cockpit sits deep enough that green water passes overhead while you stay dry and stable, back hugged by the coaming, feet flat on the sole. Sail handling is transformed by a pair of electric primary winches, each mounted at about 34 inches, right at waist height for most sailors, whether you are standing or sitting. No more standing to grind, no twisting your spine or lifting arms overhead. Instead, trimming the genoa or reefing the main becomes a push-button affair. Even with a stiff shoulder or a bad knee, you can adjust sail trim from a relaxed seated position. One owner well into his 70s demonstrates the point. Seated with coffee in hand, he taps the winch control and the sheet spools in, the load shifting effortlessly. The cockpit layout means you are always in the boat, not on it, safe, secure, and in command. For aging skippers, this is the difference between feeling exposed and feeling at home. The Outbound 46 wears its waist-height winch badge with quiet confidence, rounding out the checklist of ergonomic essentials before the final verdict. Right now, over 20% of United States sailors are over 65, and that number grows every year. The real revolution is not new technology, it is reclaiming independence and comfort on your own terms. These boats are not just designs, they are invitations to keep your hands on the helm, no matter your age. Which one would you trust to carry you onward? Let me know in the comments.